Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to another episode of my F1 22 My Team career mode. This is episode number 106 today for the Mexican Grand Prix in Season 7. If you guys did miss the previous one at the Miami GP, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. And AI hit us, we had to make a bit of a comeback and a 300 IQ strategy play with a late safety car, pitting again, risking it all, but using the soft compound tyre to very good use around Miami. And spoiler alert, we came through for our first win of the season and the first win back for Aarava Archer Racing, of course, having raced for Ferrari in the last season of this series. So great stuff to be back on the top step of the podium in our own colours, in our own car. But at the moment, the most consistent man appears to be Mick Schumacher for Vettel Rennsport, who leads the way versus Lando Norris, who did fall foul of a DNF, a failure very late on, so he's still classified on the grid as a P22, but was a DNF nonetheless. So the Audi man, who looked so clear out with the first place and second place at Bahrain, slipped up a little bit, and Audi as a whole had a very quiet and disappointing weekend, with Sainz also not faring too well. Both cars struggled in the traffic, which seems to be the characteristic of the Audi. It needs to be a bit further up, because I was expecting Lando to carve through the traffic, but he just didn't, basically. And you know, the Vettel Rennsport car has seemed a bit more consistent, and that's been very much on show with Mick Schumacher so far. In contrast, maybe the Gulf Porsche Williams team, and Leclerc especially, might be ruining what they may have lost out on at Miami. They definitely could have won that Grand Prix. Leclerc obviously very aggressive with us, trying to defend the lead, but in the end, with that advantage of the tyre compound, with that extra pit stop, we were just a bit too quick there. And in general, I think our car was going well around Miami, because Hamilton managed to get a P5 to get himself off the mark this season. So I really hope that P5 is, you know, more things like that to come from that side of the garage. But back on our side, we delve into Saturday immediately here at Mexico, and we're faced with a DRS failure in the middle of our lap in Q1. So I was meant to do 2 consecutive runs on this first set of tyres, just to kind of get a feel for the circuit and the car around here. But unfortunately, with the DRS broken, that is losing us a lot of pace down the straight, with the DRS upgrades, of course, making a huge difference, with the slot gap being so much larger and more efficient. So just, you know, basically banked on that first lap being good enough, and it will end up being good enough, just about, I will say, because we were down the order. I had to scroll down the page in Q1's results. Hamilton up there in P6, thankfully, so showing the car maybe does have some good speed around here, but it's so bloody tight. There's only like 5 tenths covering the top 10, and there's only, like, you know, half a tenth here and there in between all the guys in the top 5, basically. So it's going to be a very fine margin qualifying here around Mexico, but not too sure how we're actually overall going to do this race weekend in the other parts of quali and into the race, because if we look at Bahrain, power circuit, the car looked very draggy and not too great down the straights of Bahrain. Miami a bit better, very different circuits. Mexico again, very different, high altitude as well, could change things up. So really no idea what the pace of the car will be like. I hope it's more towards what we had at Miami rather than Bahrain. And you know, Australia was kind of semi-okay, I guess, but we've got a lot of competitive teams around us, and still, you know, the likes of Repsol Haas trying to get off the mark properly. You know, we know Repsol Haas have a quick car, but in race situations, they may be making mistakes. Also, the car itself not too great on the tyres, and so it means Andretti, the other American team, are quite close to them in the points and the standings. So they're going to want to try and be a bit more consistent. 4th time lucky round number 4. But of course, I didn't even mention that round 4 here at the Mexican Grand Prix. It's really odd to be at Mexico this early on into the season, but also quite exciting. Mexico is a wonderful circuit on the F1 game, really entertaining a lot of the time with the racing the AI have here in the race, and so to have it at the front of the season is going to guarantee us some more action in this first third of this season. That first lap I thought looked pretty okay, you know, 800ths off Felipe Drugovich, but then as we get through to the second run, we're down to P10. The track has massively improved, everyone going so much quicker. We're only 1/10 up, and then we go way too late on the brakes there. I had too much confidence with where the car was going to turn in, went so wide, couldn't try and bring it back. I tried desperately to claw back the time all in the last few corners, probably end up losing a bit more time with the desperation, and it's a howler. It's a big mistake from us, being way too cocky into that last section of the circuit, and that sees us get knocked out because enough people improved. Both Mercedes cars are through into the top 10 shootout. Hamilton made it through, so at least that's good for our team. But for me, that is just not, that's poor. That's poor. We had to do better there. Lando Norris, shock horror, the only Audi into Q3, as we've seen so many times this season so far. Both Vettel Rennsports, Porsche, Williams, and Repsol Haas cars are through with Hulkenberg and Piastri there. So, yeah, some improvements from our rivals, and for me, just having to do better there. Andretti was even close to us. Just, you know, yeah, that's how you know we just did a poor job. There was at least 2 tenths on the table there that we lost in the last sector, and that would have got us very much where Hamilton was. So myself and Lewis seem pretty equally matched here around this circuit, but for him in P7 might show the car is maybe a little bit slower than it was at Miami, so it might be a tougher job to come through from outside the top 10, but that's frustrating. I love this circuit. It's really fun in the race, but not had too much fun there on this Saturday, having to make up for that mistake into the last sector. Let's go to the grid and find out how the top 10 did.
It's time then for the Mexico City Grand Prix, a race which gave Honda their first ever victory back in 1965. American Richie Ginther winning from third on the grid. Red Bull have been strong here in recent seasons, but can they keep that record going today? We're a long way above sea level here in Mexico today, which could pose some cooling issues for the cars as they make their way around this 2.6-mile lap. 17 corners with top speeds in excess of 220 miles per hour, and watch out for potential overtaking into turns 1 and 4. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. A fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday, and it's put him on pole, and Oscar Piastri completes the front row. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Hulkenberg, Drugovich, Mick Schumacher and Russell, Norris, Magnussen, Albon and Lewis Hamilton, Sainz, the owner driver, Yuki Tsunoda, Sargent, Ricciardo, Liam Lawson, Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez, Fernando Alonso, Schwartzman, Gasly and Théo Pourchaire. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head down trackside for today's race. It's race day yet again, and joining me for a chat is Anthony Davidson. And our racers are certainly in for a rough day today. What will you be watching out for as they head into turn 1?
Well, the start of the race is always one of the most nerve-wracking parts. You have to hope that everyone is able to get off to a clean start, and this is possibly the trickiest part of the entire race. So many drivers in such a small space, and finding your braking point into turn 1 as well. It's a testament to the driver's skill that there aren't more incidents.
So a very surprising final 10 for this starting grid. I expected the Audi of Lando Norris to be at least on the front row minimum, if not even pole position. But no, it's Leclerc, back-to-back poles from Miami to Mexico, showing that, you know, over one lap at least, him and that Williams are gelling, but he's yet to convert one of those into a win. Piastri doing amazing in the Repsol Haas to be in second place. Finally, could this be the one where they actually convert a good qualifying into at least a podium? At least, I don't think Haas has even got on the podium yet in this season, actually. But, yeah, very peculiar from Lando Norris and the Audi team. We did see that at Bahrain, was it? Where we thought, you know, they'd be quick again as they were at Melbourne, and they just didn't show up, and Lando was down the order there. So he's going to have to do the same thing he did in Bahrain and try and slice through a few cars at the start. For us, we're going to have to do even more than that down in P12. Hamilton only P10 directly ahead of us on the grid, so that's not too promising, I'm not going to lie. I think definitely our car is going to be a bit slower around Mexico than it seemed in Miami. In terms of the strategy, most of us starting on the medium compound, a few soft tyre runners behind us who had a free set of softs. I have a free set of softs because I didn't use one in Q3, so I've got that in my back pocket, and I'm thinking maybe if I don't have the pace to keep up with the cars ahead where we kind of almost want to be, aiming for that top 5, always being consistent as ever, I think I might try and switch to a very aggressive two-stop, knowing that the tyre wear has been a bit higher this season with the regulation change, and maybe making the use of just pushing flat out on a set of mediums and knowing we have a fresh set of softs for the end of the race compared to, you know, hard tyres, which do take a fair bit of time to rubber in around most circuits on this game. So might go a little bit different like we did in Miami to try and gamble a bit, but we're going to preempt that gamble from the get-go maybe here. But either way, we know here at Mexico there are plenty of opportunities for overtakes. So here we go for round number 4, an early Mexican Grand Prix in the season. Lights out, and we are underway. It's a slow start for Alexander Albon there, who really bogged down in the Mercedes car. Sainz caught him up. We've caught him up. We made a little bit of contact with Albon actually as we pulled to the left-hand side to try and get an outside line to try and go around the outside of a couple of cars. Hulkenberg took Drugovich wide there, nearly fully off circuit, and we're trying to avoid the chaos on our inside. In the end of it, we were maybe a little bit too cautious potentially into turn 1 as we only make up 1 position on Albon. Sainz defends the inside line, but we'll still try and make a move if we can. Russell, the other Mercedes, getting stuck in the battle with our teammate Hamilton. We have a big slap of oversteer over the curb, and that allows Sainz to remain ahead. So that's been a bit of a mediocre getaway on lap 1 overall, even though our initial start was pretty damn good. But, you know, compared to Lando Norris's stonking effort on this opening lap, ours really quite feeble as we only gained 1 position. Lando Norris, he's climbed up to 3rd place from, I think it was P7 on the grid, so a valiant effort from the Audi, showing its proper race pace. Piastri remains in 2nd place, and Leclerc, the pole man, still in 1st place. There's a bit of contact with Sainz as we caught him napping a bit at the hairpin corner inside the stadium. I asked my team, or I was trying to ask them for vehicle condition. I mistakenly asked for tyre status, but they've confirmed there's no damage there. I was worried that maybe the front wing got tagged a little bit by that contact with Carlos Sainz, but it just seems to be a wheel-to-wheel contact, so we're all good. But let's look at a replay then of Lando Norris's start in the opening lap, because it was a mega one to get up to P3 for the Audi here. So he has an okay start, kind of still boxed in a bit with the Vettel Rennsport car and Mercedes of Russell on his inside, but into turn 1, confident on the brakes, and look at all that locking up from both Vettel Rennsport cars and Hulkenberg. More importantly, Hulkenberg took Drugovich wide, and that just allowed Lando to swoop in, get both moves done in one go, and now he has a go at Mick Schumacher. These two have been very familiar with each other so far in the fights for the race wins, podiums this season, and both are the top 2 in the championship, and Lando gets the better of him, going right round the outside, keeps his foot in there, and has to finish off the move into the S section. Really great lunge down the inside, so aggressive from the Brit. And that's how he got up into 3rd place. This is the onboard from Schumacher, and just, again, a bit more of a visibility of what happened there with Hulkenberg and Drugovich going wide, and quite a few lockups from AI, making mistakes on heavy fuel into turn 1, and that's to the benefit of the likes of Schumacher and Norris, as we now move back to the live action onto lap 3. So after lap 1, it's taken us 2-3 laps, because we go on to lap 4 now, to really get underneath the rear wing maybe of Magnussen, to go for a move to get us up into just P9 at this stage of the race. So slow progress so far, really. But now we finally look to make another overtake in this race on the outside of Magnussen. He made us go the long way round and really work for it, but in the end we just had a much better mid-corner speed, really, to get the car turned and shifted from left to right to left again through that sequence of corners. And 2 laps later, lap 6, we've caught up to our teammate Hamilton, who's been frustratingly stuck behind Russell here, as big snap of oversteer. Okay, it definitely looks like our car is a bit more towards how it was in Bahrain, a little bit nervous on the curbs, I would say. Don't have that same confidence we did at Miami just to chuck it anywhere, so having to watch out for that. But yeah, Hamilton here goes defensive as we are on the move, trying to go around the outside of our teammate. Hamilton really breaks late and defends well. Again, we've seen that so many times. Hamilton's AI, he's not been amazing at overtaking so far this season, but he has been really good at defense. So that's something his AI's not lost in that period of time where he retired in Season 2 and has now come back into Formula 1. But eventually I need to get past Hamilton, because we need to be honest here. He's not up to pace. He's not looking to overtake Russell anytime soon. So we make a copycat move of the one we did at Magnussen. I mean, we tried to do that anyway the previous laps, and finally it's worked out. But lap 9, and we're P8. This has been real slow progress, just showing that this car really maybe is not as quick as it was around Miami. But now, with a bit of clean air, we are now tucked up behind George Russell. I feel like our car is quicker, though, than the Mercedes, of course. And then Hülkenberg is holding up Drugovich, so that might help us. But Lewis just doesn't seem to have the tools in his arsenal at the moment to make these moves like we are with Russell as we tuck up right underneath his rear wing. Don't have too much battery to deploy. You can see I'm into single figures of ERS, so we're really having to use it to catch up to cars. It's a bit of a scrap with Russell as we make a bit of contact as tyres bang, and we get through eventually and hold our nerve to get up into P7, and behind Hamilton now is right up his gearbox. Will this now be finally the time for Hamilton to make a move? He just pulls out to the right, the wrong way to go, to be honest, into a left-hander, and he gets stuck behind him. And so once again, like Bahrain, will we maybe see later on the Hamilton-Russell battle reunited? Meanwhile, up ahead of us, Drugovich, Hülkenberg, Schumacher, Lando Norris P3, Piastri P2, and Leclerc P1. It's all pretty much the same as it has been since lap 1. So a bit of a slow burner, I would say, with the AI battles so far in this Mexican GP. But I suspect that's really because a lot of these guys are looking to make a one-stop. So they all just maybe protecting their tyres a little bit more than I am, knowing that I think we are looking to do a two-stop, because I'm going to get frustrated at the lack of pace of this car on a one-stop. So I want to try something different, as now we see Hamilton maybe finally making an overtake in this race after lap 1 on his old teammate Russell. As I said, the battle's been reignited here like it was in Bahrain. Look at Sainz go for the move though. Sainz tried to catch Russell off guard. The Audi trying to go around the outside of the Mercedes car. Russell doesn't have any of it and remains in P9 as we are now catching up to Felipe Drugovich. And look at that unsettling car on the curves. That Vettel Rennsport car is definitely not looking too planted today versus previous races. Can we go for it? We're going to try and go for the dive. Drugovich locks up, goes off circuit, comes back and just narrowly tucks in behind us. So I was going to commit to the corner anyway, even if Felipe didn't lock up, but that lock up was basically a bit of a gift for us as we get up into P6 now and can chase after Hülkenberg. I feel like Hülkenberg may be the limit of our pace today on this first stint on the soft, on the medium tyre, which is why I want to look to do a two-stop to get onto that new set of softs at the end of the race to give us any sort of advantage, because I feel like we are just going to get stuck in a bit of no man's land otherwise. But at the moment, Drugovich actually comes back at us into turn 1. Have to do a bit of defending, but it's easy work, and we remain in P6 then. But you saw there also just a flash of how close things are, as Norris is now within 1 second of Piastri. The top 3 covered by about 1.5 seconds. So they're all keeping each other very, very honest. But no one wants to make a move because they don't lock up and ruin their tyres. So I think everyone is in a bit of an IRL situation where everyone's so stubborn at making the one stop that they're protecting their tyres, not going for that last gasp dive bomb, whereas we have been doing that because we come in on lap 14 onto 15 onto another set of medium tyres. The rest of them may go on for another couple of laps, but they'll go on to hard tyres to the end of the Grand Prix, whereas we're going to pit around, I would say, lap 24 to 5, give us 10 laps or 11 laps on the new set of soft tyres. Meanwhile, though, as we come out the pits, Hamilton, further up the road, is trying to make a move on Drugovich. He's caught up to the Brazilian. He's done very well here, Hamilton has. And it looks like this pack of cars actually may have heard me in the comm box about maybe being a bit pedestrian, because Hamilton shakes a leg and gets up into P6. Drugovich is struggling around here. Schumacher doesn't look too bad. His pace is all right. He's 4 seconds down the road from Norris, so clearly the Vettel Rennsport car is not as quick at Mexico as it was in Miami, which is surprising because of the straight line pace we know that Vettel Rennsport car has. But Drugovich just not looking great and going backwards now, so maybe they're just having more issues on the tyres actually on the mediums potentially. But look at this. The top 3 covered by 1 second because it's 6/10 to Piastri, 4/10 to Norris. So you can't separate them, but they're all just keeping each other so honest. But Leclerc holds his ground, holds his nerve in P1 in the Gulf Porsche Williams. Piastri doing really well by Haas's standards to be up there. But look who we're now joining. We're joining them as they come out the pits a couple of laps down the road, and they've come out just ahead of us. But that's how much time and positions we've gained doing that undercut on the medium tyre. This is exactly why I wanted to do the 2-stop, because, you know, just going flat out, going for moves, wearing the tyres out, I think it's going to be the better way for us to go. As Piastri defends against us, tries to make a half move on Leclerc, and really unsettles himself on the curb, and we make an easy little switchback move to get up into P7. Now, to be honest, we need to clear Leclerc as well, and then just pull out into the distance. These guys are not in our fight. We need to bridge a whole pit stop once we get ahead of Leclerc here. So I really hope they don't fight us too much, because for their races, they don't need to fight me. They need to protect their hard tyres. Leclerc does go very defensive though, and we just saw how aggressive Leclerc can be in this Williams at Miami. Oh, he cuts across us. He stops us making the switch from left to right. Leclerc is being very stubborn. He doesn't want us to get track position here, even though we're not in his fight. He's pulling to the left so aggressively to defend this. We go around the outside again. Bit of contact, mate. Clearly this season there is no love lost between myself and Charles Leclerc. We haven't really fought too much in the last couple of seasons in this career mode, but this is certainly turning into a bit of a rivalry on track, it would seem, as Leclerc makes hard work of it. But we do eventually get up into P1 and we sail away because we need to. That's the only way we're going to make this 2-stop work. We're not even racing these 3 we're focusing on our screens right now. We're racing the likes of Schumacher and Hülkenberg, but in this top 3 fight, Lando Norris looking to try and make a move. Piastri makes a move. Oh my word. I thought Lando was going to make a move on Oscar, but Oscar ended up making a move on Charles. That was unbelievable stuff. The Haas going from the defensive onto the attack, but Leclerc remains stern in his defense and remains in a net P1 once I make my pit stop, obviously. Meanwhile, down the road, Hülkenberg getting overtaken by Carlos Sainz, and actually a bit of information. We've been told on the radio that Hülkenberg has some sort of issue slowing him down, so he's going to fall down the order, and Hamilton may be able to even overtake him to get up into P7, so that's promising stuff from Lewis, slowly making a bit of progress in this race. But lap 25 then, my tyres looking a bit second hand, and the pace isn't insane now. 5.8 seconds the gap we've managed to bring, comes down to 5.6 by the end of the lap, so we actually lost 2/10 on that in lap, so definitely the time to come in now. So this will give us 10 laps on brand spanking new soft tyres. We're going to be down the order though, maybe even behind Hülkenberg, and even maybe further than that, so we're going to have to really get a move on here. But with the soft compound, 2 tyre compounds softer than the hards, hopefully we can make progress. But Hamilton is past Hülkenberg. He's up into P6 now. This is turning into a great race for Hamilton. Oh my god! Drugovich has got it all crossed up into turn 1. He's done what Fernando Alonso did, but so much worse from last season. He's locked up, making a move on Hülkenberg. He's hit Hamilton. Is Hamilton all right? I want to know that, but the safety car is out now. The same lap we were coming out the pit lane, so that is absolutely insane timing for me in terms of coming out on fresh softs, and the safety car is going to bunch us all up. But it's all from this chaotic bit of energy from Felipe Drugovich. He actually takes out Hülkenberg's front wing, so Hülkenberg, he already had car issues anyway, but now he's going to have to do a whole extra pit stop. So we get 2 free positions there from P11 to P9 as it is now, as the safety car is coming in, and we are on fresh soft tyres, bunched up with everyone. It's time to lick our lips, because this is an opportunity here, but not just for me, for others as well, because Leclerc is a sitting duck down this long straight. Piastri pulls out for a move on the inside. The Australian down into turn 1, looking to take the lead. They both go wide. Through goes Lando Norris. The Audi up into first place. Piastri and Leclerc too busy fighting each other to see where the Audi was. And where's Mick Schumacher? Schumacher come in from all of this? He's come out of nowhere, and he's up into P2 all of a sudden. Piastri defends, tries to get him. Leclerc has gone from P1 down to P4. It's a nightmare from the man for Monaco in the Gulf Porsche Williams. It was going so well for him. He was P1 for most of this race, and all of a sudden, he's down to P4 as we overtake Russell, overtake Hamilton, who's got it crossed up into that left-hander. These guys, you know what's happening here? Those hard tyres are taking so long to warm up, and that's an advantage for us on the soft compound tyre. It's Lando from Schumacher. Piastri goes deep. Leclerc goes wide. We almost tagged the back of Carlos Sainz, and after tucking behind him, it's all kicking off here in this kind of almost mini sprint, as you were, at the end of this Mexican GP. So it's been a bit of a slow burner, but it's really hotting up now in the final 6 laps of this Grand Prix. It's game on. It's anyone's game, really. We're gaining on Carlos Sainz now to break into the top 5, but there could be more for us on offer before these soft tyres start to go off. Alonso out of the Grand Prix. That haunted him last season down the Aston Martin for the wooden spoon, as it were, as we make quick work of Carlos Sainz round the outside, and we're into that top 5 position. But now we need to bridge the gap to Leclerc and keep these tyres in check, because you know, we saw the tyre were on the mediums after 10 or 11 laps. As there's contact, there's a Williams on our front wing, and there's a second safety car. Oh, the Williams of Magnussen, I think, had no front wing, so that's why there was definitely contact there. So all of a sudden, we've all slowed up, and we're going to have another safety car. So another opportunity to have something like this happen, because this is what happened on that initial safety car restart. The Haas takes Leclerc wide, and both Schumacher and Norris just brake a bit earlier, get the inside tighter line into turn 1. Norris the big winner in all of that, but Schumacher ends up in P2. Piastri manages to wrestle the car back to get down the inside to try and get P2 back. The two are going to be side by side now, but Leclerc behind is probably sat just fuming at what has happened there, because he's gone from P1 to P4, and then this is why we have this second safety car. Magnussen just drives straight into the back of the Mercedes, so him and Drugovich having some issues with their brake points today, and a few AI mistakes coming into play to spice things up as we now get ready for a second restart of this race late on. It's a 3-lap sprint to the end. And just like was the case on the first restart, there may be a move into turn 1. Schumacher versus Norris. The top 2 in the championship, wheel to wheel into turn 1. Norris locks up. Piastri goes through. It's 3 wide between him, Leclerc and Schumacher. We try to get involved down the inside. We tighten up our line and lose a bit of traction. The Audis are now hounding us on the left-hand side. Piastri leads, though. He leads the race. Look at Norris making the double dive bomb to come back into P3 after his mistake into turn 1. We managed to keep ahead of Carlos Sainz, but it all got a bit too close for comfort into that sequence of corners, and we managed just to survive that and remain in the position we were already in anyway before that safety car came out. The tyres are a little bit cooked now, so I'm definitely feeling these softs aren't as amazing as they were on the first restart. But again, a fiery safety car restart as oh no, we went way too early on the turn in there, and now made a bit of contact with Lewis. Mistakes are creeping in, and we're getting a bit too desperate with these mistakes creeping into our driving now. That was not good. I turned in too early basically for that right-hander, clouted the curb, started drifting, managed to control it, but that's allowed Hamilton to come through. So all of a sudden our teammate is up into P5 here, and we're down to P6 in a sequence of a race where we should be looking to attack the top 4. We're staring at the back of our teammate's rear wing because we're having too many mistakes now with the tyre wear. These soft tyres, they're just wearing out a bit too quick. I maybe should have seen the writing on the wall from those that started on the softs in this race, because the bottom end of the pack that did start on softs, they were nowhere in this race before the first safety car. We do overtake Lewis, but I think I've actually got a bit of damage on the front wing from making that contact with Hamilton into the hairpin, so not an ideal ending to this race for us. Meanwhile, it's a very ideal ending for Oscar Piastri, who leads the way onto the last lap of the Grand Prix. He led the way in the opening race of this season, and his home race, it was then utter disappointment as the Haas fell away on its tyres. But today, on the hards, it looks to be Oscar Piastri's day finally, and Haas's day, as Schumacher and Norris are now fighting. The top two guys in the championship, we've joined the party. The top three in the championship are fighting here right now. We get Schumacher, we follow Norris through up into P4, and now using the remaining bit of our tyre, we go down the inside. Norris locks up again. He's having a real issue. The tyre wear maybe has really hounded the hard runners as well, but you can see on the bottom right for us, orange icon, so any more laps and I would have been done. These tyres are falling off the cliff now, but thankfully we've made the most of Schumacher and Norris fighting, that we've managed to secure a late podium somehow. But it's going to be Oscar Piastri coming through for P1. Leclerc once again is denied a race win from a race he had pole position for, and this one's going to hurt more because he was leading for so long. Oh my god, look at my rear end. We've got no rear end, but Piastri is a race winner in Formula 1. Repsol Haas finally get their podium. They get their race win for this season to kick it off properly. That's a bit more like it from Repsol Haas, but Leclerc's going to rue that. And, well, for us, I'm going to rue that, because on the softs, we should have really been doing what we did at Miami, but we just had a very messy end to the race.
Proud of from our Mexico City Grand Prix winners today. Tell me, Ant, how did they manage to achieve this win?
Well, they certainly stood out as a driver with tons of confidence on the track. I think their ability to keep their cool, even during some of the more hectic parts of the race, meant they were able to capitalise on the mistakes of other drivers, giving them the opportunity to make their way to the top spot with ease.
Today was another great race and an even greater victory for Haas. Here they come now to step out onto the top of the podium. They'll be incredibly happy with today's result.
It's a big day for Oscar Piastri, his first race win in Formula 1, and it's for his new team, Repsol Haas. They've been vindicated, signing him away from McLaren for this season. He's got them the win at the Mexican GP, and an early Mexican GP really did not disappoint. The tyre wear for me, and even the hard tyre runners, really spiced things up, especially also with the two safety car restarts. Those were insane. Both times we had moves going to turn one. Both times the AI, they didn't heat up their hards and they locked up into turn one. Action left, right and centre. Enthralling ending to that GP. And yeah, for us, it's a good recovery to P3, all things considered, because with a broken wing at the end there, we did very well actually. Schumacher still leads the championship. We climb up into P2 because we outscored Lando Norris today, but Piastri climbs up to P5 in the championship. The likes of Drugovich, Magnussen going down the order. Hamilton picks up a couple of points, which is good for us, because in the constructors, we are still there in second place behind Vettel Rennsport, but look how close it is between Audi, Williams and Haas. That is incredibly close. So that is going to be a very, very tight fight all the way to the end of the season, I imagine. And to be honest, they're going to also close up to us and Vettel Rennsport. You know, Vettel Rennsport only had one finisher today with Schumacher, so it is going to really close up and maybe become a five-way constructors fight if it keeps up like this. But yeah, a very, very fiery end to a Mexican GP here today. Guys, if you did enjoy that as much as I did to commentate it, then be sure to hit that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.